I'm Lena, a 29-year-old graphic designer from a peaceful town in upstate New York. My entire life, I felt like I was in the shadows, always trailing behind my sister, Jada, the one who captivated everyone's attention wherever she went. At her wedding, they put me in a chair by the kitchen, as though I were a stranger who had wandered in. Meanwhile, relatives I hadn't seen in years sat in prime spots. That night I left, and just 10 minutes later, Jada was crying in the parking lot, her makeup ruined. For the first time, others saw what I had always known. I was tired of being invisible. This is the story of how I learned to stand up for myself. Growing up, Jada, 2 years older than me, was always the golden child in our family. She aced every test, won debates, and had a laugh that made everyone want to be around her. Our parents, my mom, who's a retired teacher, and my dad, who runs a hardware store, treated her like she could do no wrong. I, on the other hand, was the quiet one, always drawing in my notebooks and dreaming of attending art school, while my parents tried to steer me towards something more practical like accounting. When I opted for graphic design, they dismissed it as just a hobby, even after I moved out at 20 and built my freelance career from the ground up. At family gatherings, my mom would ask, "Lena, when are you going to get a real job?" While Jada's latest career promotion was met with cheers and applause. Jada and I never had a close relationship. She'd come over to organize birthday parties for mom or retirement celebrations for dad, always stealing the spotlight. I'd help set up decorations or whatever was needed, but it felt like I was invisible, there but not truly seen. I tried not to let it bother me too much, focusing on my clients, my work, and my own small world. But it hurt when every family conversation seemed to revolve around Jada. When she got engaged to Mark, her perfect fiancé, the whole town celebrated. At our parents' Christmas gathering, Jada stood up with a glass of wine, showing off a slideshow of her sparkling engagement ring as if it were priceless. My aunts teared up, my dad embraced Mark, and I sat there, forcing a smile, eating the pie I'd spent hours baking, while no one even mentioned it. From that moment, everything seemed to be about Jada. My phone constantly buzzed with updates about her wedding, dress fittings, catering choices, and pictures from the vineyard they'd chosen for the event. My mom called every week, but it was always about Jada. "Did you see the centerpieces?" she'd ask, "or isn't the venue just perfect?" I'd nod, agreeing, but try to talk about my latest design project only for her to quickly shift back to wedding talk. I texted Jada to tell her I was happy for her, and I meant it, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling of slowly fading into the background. When I saw the list for her bridal party, 10 bridesmaids and 10 groomsmen, including Mark's little brother and our cousin Riley, who Jada barely even knew, I realized she hadn't asked me to be part of it. It stung, but I told myself it was her day and her decision. I didn't want to make a fuss, so I swallowed my feelings as usual and showed up at her rehearsal dinner with a gift and a smile, secretly hoping that this time, I would feel like I mattered. That dinner was my first sign that things were going to be different. I wouldn't change a thing. I arrived at the elegant restaurant in Albany, dressed in a nice blouse and skirt, holding a custom sketchbook I had made for Jada as a personal gift. The atmosphere was buzzing with conversation, long tables covered in white cloths, and candles flickering in the background. Jada was at the head of the table, laughing with her bridesmaids, her voice rising above the clinking of glasses. I walked over to greet her, and she flashed a quick, fake smile, as if I were just a delivery person dropping off flowers. "Oh, Lena, you're here," she said, before turning back to her friends, who were laughing about something from the bachelorette party. I stood there, feeling foolish, then slowly made my way back to my seat at the far end of the table. My parents barely acknowledged me. My dad gave a brief nod, and my mom was too busy handling Jada's seating chart to say hello. I ended up leaving early, my chest tight with discomfort, telling myself it was just one night. The wedding day arrived, and I drove to a beautiful vineyard in the Hudson Valley, where the rolling hills were lit up by fairy lights hanging in the oak trees. I wore my favorite navy dress and carried the espresso machine I had bought from Jada's registry, a $400 splurge that hurt my finances. I hoped the day would feel different. The ceremony was lovely. Jada, radiant in her lace gown, and Mark, beaming like the luckiest man alive. I clapped with the rest of the guests, even getting a little teary-eyed as I watched my sister walk down the aisle. But when I entered the reception hall, my hope was shattered. I checked the seating chart, expecting to be seated with family, maybe near Riley or my aunts. Instead, my name was hastily written in pen at the very bottom. Unlike the others, at table 22. I asked an usher where it was, and she led me through a side door to a cramped area by the kitchen. There, I found my seat. A single folding chair with my name taped on it, positioned next to a flurry of servers rushing around with trays. My face burned with embarrassment as I stared at the chair, feeling like it was some kind of joke I wasn't part of. Jenna, Jada's maid of honor, walked past, did a double take, and said, "Oh Lena, you're fine here, right?" She gave me an awkward half-smile, as if she felt bad but not enough to do anything about it. I looked out into the main hall. Tables adorned in gold, my cousins from Rochester laughing with my parents, and Jada toasting with Mark's family. No one looked my way. It felt like when I was 12, left alone in my room while Jada played the perfect host downstairs. I placed the espresso machine gift on the dessert table, near the cake, and quietly left. No shouting, no dramatic exit, just me stepping into the cool night air, my heart racing with a mixture of anger and a strange sense of freedom. I was halfway across the gravel parking lot when I heard Jada's voice cut through the night, shaky and sharp, calling my name. I turned to see her, her wedding dress glowing under the twinkling vineyard lights, her heels catching in the dirt, and her bouquet hanging loosely in her hand. "Lena, where are you going?" she asked, like it wasn't obvious. I didn't move, just stared, waiting for something real. "You can't just leave," she said, her voice trembling. "Can't I?" I replied calmly, my voice cold. "You've made it clear where I belong." Her face crumpled, but I wasn't moved by the tears. "It's my wedding day," she said, as if that would excuse everything. "Exactly," I snapped. "And you gave me a folding chair by the kitchen. Not even a seat at a table. You had room for everyone else. Cousins we haven't seen in years, Mark's old college buddies, but not your own sister. You put me where no one would see me." She fidgeted with her bouquet, avoiding my gaze. "It wasn't like that. We ran out of space." I let out a bitter laugh. 22 tables, Jada. I counted. You had space for 200 people, but not for me." She remained silent, her silence louder than any excuse she could offer. And that's when it hit me, not just the chair, but every Christmas when my gifts were always opened last, every dinner where my stories were overshadowed by her latest big news. "I've been invisible to you my whole life," I said, my voice firm. "You get the spotlight and I let you have it. I showed up, spent $400 on your gift, thinking maybe this time you'd see me. But you didn't. You never do." Her eyes shimmered with tears, but I didn't stop. "You didn't forget me, Jada. You chose to make me feel like I don't matter." I leaned in, my voice barely above a whisper, urging, "Please, Lena, don't do this now. Everyone's inside." I motioned towards the glowing vineyard behind her. "Go back. Dance, cut the cake, be the perfect bride. But don't expect me to stay in your shadow anymore." She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised my hand. "I'm done." Turning towards my car, I saw my mom approach, her face filled with the same mixture of worry and frustration I knew too well. "What are you doing out here, Lena? Your sister's crying." She sounded frustrated, as if I was the problem. I leaned against the door of my car and replied, "She did that to herself, Mom." My mom sighed, her tone tired. "You're making a scene. The seating was tight, that's all." I stared at her, thinking of all the times she had told me to just accept it when Jada had everything handed to her. "You let your daughter sit by the kitchen while strangers took family seats. And you think I'm the one making a scene?" She opened her mouth to respond, but I quickly rolled up the window and started the engine. As I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw Jada still standing there, her dress catching the light, tears streaming down her face. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. I didn't drive straight home. I meandered through the dark roads of the Hudson Valley, passing orchards and quiet towns, the hum of my car drowning out the noise in my head. My phone buzzed constantly, with messages from my mom, Jada, even my dad, who usually only called when something was broken. But I didn't check any of them. I just drove, letting all the years of hurt sink in. Every time I'd been told to be understanding when Jada got the better bedroom, the newer phone, the louder applause, I'd always smiled and nodded. But that chair by the kitchen? That was the breaking point. It wasn't just a seat. It was a symbol that I would always be a background player in their lives. When I finally got home, my phone was flooded with messages. 30 missed calls, 15 from Jada, 10 from my mom, a few from my dad, and one from Riley, my cousin, who had always been the other outsider in the family. The group chat was chaotic. "Lena, where are you?" from Jada, followed by my mom's "You owe your sister an apology," and my dad's blunt "Call us." Riley's message stood out. "Saw your chair. That was wrong. You okay?" It was the first time anyone in my family had acknowledged how I felt, and it hit me hard. But I didn't respond. I turned off my phone and went to sleep, feeling lighter than I had in years. The next morning, I skipped the post-wedding brunch. Instead, I made coffee, sketched some designs, and took a long walk through Albie's art district. My inbox had an automated thank you note from Jada's wedding website, with a photo of her and Mark under the fairy lights. I marked it as spam. That day, I did what made me happy. I grabbed a latte, sketched street murals, and basked in the sun, free from snide remarks and guilt trips. But I knew my family wouldn't let it go. That evening, Jada called, her voice soft, almost rehearsed. "Lena, we need to talk." I didn't hold back. "You had a year to plan, Jada. Don't tell me you were overwhelmed. You chose to put me by the kitchen." There was silence on the other end, and then she said, "So you're still mad?" "No," I replied. "I said I'm done. That chair wasn't a mistake. It was you telling me I'm not part of this family." She tried to argue, but I hung up. A week later, I wrote a blog post. I included a photo of that folding chair, my name taped to it, next to a half-eaten slice of cake in a trash can. I shared the truth. How I'd been pushed aside at every family event, how Jada's wedding was the final straw, and how I'd spent $400 on her gift only to be treated like an outsider. I didn't rant, I just laid out the facts. The post went viral. Friends from college, clients, even strangers commented, "That's awful. You deserved better." Then Jada posted her own letter on Facebook titled "To My Sister." It was pure manipulation, claiming that weddings were chaotic, and that I abandoned her by leaving. But she made a crucial mistake writing, "I thought Lena would be stronger than to walk out." That line sparked questions. A college friend tagged me saying, "Wait, she put you by the kitchen?" Jenna's article, "How to Ruin Your Wedding with Bad Seating," went viral, detailing my chair and everything that had happened, without naming names. It spread everywhere, Reddit forums, even a BuzzFeed listicle. Jada became a meme, with her head table photo cropped to show a blurry guest sitting in the folding chair. The fallout wasn't just online. Jada deleted her Facebook. Riley texted me, "Jada's locked herself in her room. Mom's losing it." But I didn't reply. I was too busy living my life. I dove into my designs and got a spot in an Albany gallery show. My vibrant, abstract pieces sold quickly. One piece, titled "Empty Seat," was a stark painting of a folding chair against a shadowy vineyard. People didn't need an explanation. They felt it. I was building a life that didn't depend on my family's approval. Months passed. Jada texted me, "I didn't know you felt like this. I'm sorry." It was too late and we both knew it. I didn't respond. My mom called, furious about my blog, accusing me of embarrassing the family. I told her, Jada did that when she wrote her letter. I just told the truth. A week later, a package arrived. No note, just an unopened espresso machine. It wasn't an apology, it was a surrender. The real victory came as Jenna's article continued to spread. Jada's perfect image began to crack, and for once, people saw me, not as the sensitive artist, but as someone who had been wronged and had stood her ground. I skipped the next family barbecue. My parents kept calling and texting, urging me to fix things, but I was done playing their game. I had spent years trying to fit into a family that never made room for me. Now I was creating my own space, my art, my friends, my peace. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through the pain, the fight, and the moment I chose myself. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and join us. Every design I create, every story I share, is about claiming your space when the world tries to push you aside. Keep crafting your own truth, and I'll see you at the next canvas.